Coming up on a special edition of Chasing Natty, it is the CFF 2022 Redshirt League, and I'm going to be providing feedback for 12 new CFF players on their first ever CFF redraft teams. I'll be going through each of their teams, giving them grades and feedback on each of the positions in their teams. All this and more coming right after this.
Zappy looking to Jared Stearns, who makes the catch and scores. What a burst! Trayvon Henderson, as advertised, touchdown Buckeyes!
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, welcome in everybody. This is Jared Palmgren, host of the Chasing Natty podcast. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, I think it'll be a Saturday when I finally release this, maybe Friday night, who knows, depends on how things go for me. Some of you are probably looking at the thumbnail of this video and thinking about what the heck's going on, Jared? You don't release typically this late in the week, and you're saying to yourself, this is a brand new kind of thumbnail. Like, what's going on here, Jared? Explain to me what's going on here. So, for those of you who are probably not in this league, you don't know what's going on, and I'll explain to you what is going on. So, last year I came up with an idea where I thought a great way to bring people into the world of college fantasy football was to give them a league where they don't have to worry about going up against people who have been playing for 5, 10 plus years. They're going to play against other people who have never played college fantasy or straight up college fantasy before. You'll see there's people of different backgrounds here. Some people have played Devy in the past. Some people played C2C in the past. Some people have only played NFL stuff in the past. Some people have only played, haven't played any kind of fantasy. They're just big college football fans, and they really wanted to get into fantasy because, let's face it, maybe they like college football more. I mean, that's what I like. So, again, the whole idea of it was, in this league, there are 12 people who, this is their very first year playing CFF. Some of them have entered other leagues. Some of them have said this is their only league that they've kind of entered into. And so, as a bonus to entering this league and to help people out and everything, I have made it a tradition. Again, you can call it a tradition. This is my second year doing this. But I'm going to give feedback to each of these guys' drafts. We just finished the draft probably earlier this week. I would have liked to have gotten this video out sooner, but if you guys have been following me on Twitter, you know about my travel issues and everything that have been going on this past week. So, but anyway, I'll save that for the full podcast and everything. But yeah. Effectively, what I'll be doing here is I'm going to go through each of their teams. I'm going to give them a grade at each of their different positions. Last year, I just kind of gave an overall grade of the team. This year, I thought I would break it down by position. Thought that would be a little bit more interesting and kind of really let you know where I think maybe your teams are kind of suffering and stuff. So, again, this video is mostly for the people who are in this league, but for those of you who may just want some interesting draft analysis, me talking about like how I kind of break down teams when I look at it, because again, y'all send me teams all the time and be like, oh, what do you think of this? It's like, well, you'll get a good idea of like really how I kind of break it down here. Some of it has to do with draft value, but at the same time, some of it is just me kind of looking at your roster overall and saying, okay, if I was walking into the season, how would I feel about this roster? So, yeah, pretty much without further ado, I guess I'll explain the rules of the league real quick. It's a very vanilla league. Again, I'm not trying to put people in a scenario where they are like having to worry about weird rules and everything like that. It's a very vanilla league. It is 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end. I did put 2 flex spots in there just so they can put more people into the starting lineup. Kickers and DST are involved in this league as well. We'll talk about that here in a second. And again, things like it's 4-point passing touchdowns. Again, pretty typical. Next year, they can vote on whether or not they want to go to 4-point and 6-point. And then I go half PPR. Again, I prefer no PPR, but again, half PPR is a pretty good middle ground for people. No tight end premium, any of that stuff. Like I said, really tried to keep this as vanilla as I could. So, yeah. Oh, one more point I want to make here, and this is mostly geared toward the people who are in this league. Guys, you all did really good for your first time drafting. There's nobody's team that I am looking at it and saying like, oh God, they're going to really struggle this year. Part of the fun with CFF is that you're going to have plenty of chances, even if I kind of maybe put down one of the sections of your teams and everything. You're going to have chances during the year to make up for that. There's going to be waiver wires. There's going to be guys who come out of nowhere. There's going to be teams who have really good rosters, but they have to drop somebody in order to pick somebody else up. So you're going to continuously just be grabbing guys off the waiver wire. You're going to be recycling guys. All this to say, don't be encouraged or discouraged by my assessment here today. The draft is only the first piece of it. It can give you a really good starting point, but really at the end of the day, what matters is what you do the rest of the season kind of going forward here. So again, you're going to see some teams I really like here. Some teams I'm not quite as high on. It is not an attack on how I think you are as a CFF player. Again, you are all first timers here. You guys are all on a relatively level playing field here. So again, that's just kind of my spiel. Every single one of you has a chance to win this league. There is nobody here who I'm saying is like, oh, you're done for. Anyone can win. So without further ado, let's really kind of get into this. And we're going to just go in order of the picks in the draft. Originally, I had all my notes and everything written down to be alphabetical order of the team names and everything, but I figured it'd be a little bit easier so we can just go ahead and you can kind of know where you are in the order of things if you're listening to this and you are somebody who is in this draft. And if not, you can just go ahead and listen to each of these teams. So first things first, we have Mr. Joshua Tyler here. He is at Tyler18Joshua on Twitter. And so let's kind of break this down here. So I gave him his quarterbacks a B-, his running backs a B+, wide receivers B, tight ends B, and his kickers and DSTs, which are just kind of combined into one category because really that's special teams at the end of the day. I gave them a B+. So pretty much B's all up and down the board here. Let's talk about why that is. So let's talk about quarterbacks here. B-. Ooh, why did I give him a B-? It's the lowest grade out of his teams here. It really has to do with the fact that I don't think he has a true stud quarterback out of this group. And the two guys he did take near the beginning of the draft, and Will Levis and Cameron Rising, I think were just a little bit of reach. I like both of those guys, but I typically like them later as value guys you pick up as like your backup options. I don't really love having either one of those guys as my starter. And then I was kind of looking to see if he kind of made up for it on the back end of the draft. I do like Tyler Buckner. I think he was probably the best value that he got in this entire team, but then he's the only backup here. In a 20-round league, I would say that we're probably looking at, I personally would try to come out of a 20-round draft with about 4 quarterbacks. So again, you have 3 quarterbacks here, none that I truly love. That's kind of why I give you the low grade there. Running backs B+, again, Bijan Robinson, awesome job right there. Blake Corum, 4th round, pretty good stuff right there. And then really just like the later guys, the only one I loved was Amarian Hampton. That got helped out by the fact that the news broke about British Brooks over the weekend. So that was a great pick there later. I don't love LG Johnson in the 20th round. I don't think he's going to be quite valuable this year. And again, love Bijan, love Corum. Everybody kind of in between there is kind of like, I think they're all right. Sean Tyler could be pretty good this year, but again, they love splitting the carries there. So yeah, B+, Bijan, having Bijan and Corum as your set 2 starters right there, that's good stuff right there. So, wide receivers helped a ton by the fact that you were able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jermaine Burton as your top 2 wide receivers. That was an awesome double tap right there. Also, real quick to running backs, Travis Dye, awesome pick right there in the 6th round. I think that was some pretty good stuff right there. Again, why it's B+. Again, wide receivers, unfortunately, I did have to ding you a little bit because of the Isaiah Neyor pick. I know that's not entirely your fault, but again, just kind of looking at this draft, it's still a reality. Tyler Harrell also kind of being banged up and everything. It sounds like he's probably not going to be a starter for Bama this year. And then even after that, Micah Pittman at Florida State. That's fun if you're a Florida State fan and you just really want to have one of those guys on your team and see the upside there. But again, outside of your two guys there in Harrison and Burton, you got a lot of question marks at wide receiver after that, so I couldn't really give you much higher than B, although those two really helped out your team there. Tight end, Cameron Latu, Ben Sims, they're fine. They're like that's pretty good tight ends, I'd say. I don't think either one of them are going to be like locked in top 10 tight ends. So again, I gave you a B. It's pretty average tight ends. I could easily see you trying to stream some tight ends going forward. And then kicker and DST. Let's see, where is your kicker? Oh, Wake Forest kicker. Again, just grab a kicker in a high-powered offense. Going to be kicking a lot of field goals, a lot of extra points. Might as well. And then your DST was Wisconsin. I like that quite a bit. I think, again, slightly above average there in terms of that department. Again, overall, well done. If I had to give an overall grade, probably leaning towards the B plus. Again, if you just kind of average everything out there. So, good job, Tyler. Let's move on to the second guy here. We're going to look at Mr. Austin. He is at CAustinIM on Twitter. And he has gotten a B plus in the quarterbacks department from me, a B in wide receivers and running backs, a C plus at tight end, and then his kickers and DST, I gave him a B plus. So, quarterbacks. Why do I like his quarterbacks? Well, I could have dinged him pretty hard for Sam Hartman in the third, because again, not his fault, but again, it's a reality. But the quarterbacks who grabbed after him, there's a lot of good stuff right there. He made up for the Sam Hartman just bad luck right there. Because again, he later grabbed Grayson McCall, Tanner Mordecai, Spencer Sanders, and KJ Jefferson. Honestly, that's a group right there that if it weren't for the Sam Hartman pick in the third round, I probably would have given this group just an A minus. A lot of solid value there. Tanner Mordecai in the 11th was just insane, especially now that he is the declared starter. He's somebody I think should be going even higher than he has been now that we know that he's going to be the starter. And KJ Jefferson is one of my favorite dual threat quarterbacks there. You got him in the 15th. Great job overall there. Again, made up for the Sam Hartman. Just bad luck on that part. That quarterback room is some pretty good stuff. Again, I did still have to ding you because unfortunately he did take up a roster spot, but he's an easy drop if you don't want to hold on to him right now. So running backs, what do I think about your running backs? Well, Travion Henderson, great pick in the first round. No problem with that right there. Kamar Wheaton, SMU. Again, system play. They're going to be scoring a lot of points this year, especially if you can get the stack between him and Tanner Mordecai. Maybe get some receptions out of the backfield. I like that quite a bit. My problem, again, kind of comes in your later picks at running back. Nick Singleton, I've kind of been very vocal about the fact that I think he's going a little too high. He is your third running back off the board here, so he's not your starter, but I feel like you probably should have waited on him just a little bit longer. Byron Cardwell, it's looking more and more like they are going to go a committee approach there at Oregon, so he's lost a ton of value from where he was. And then I don't like Dylan McDuffie at Georgia Tech this year. I really don't think that they're going to be feeding one guy like they did Jahmyr Gibbs, and even Jahmyr Gibbs didn't really get that bell cow role there. McDuffie's a huge downgrade. I don't really love that there. And then Javon Ducker. Again, I like Ducker at Memphis. I don't know if I like him this year because, again, Brandon Thomas is still there. We just have no clue what that's going to look like. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought on the running back situation. I really like, again, Henderson really kind of buoys that room. Kamar Wheaton's a great upside pick. The rest of the guys I have a lot of question marks at. So I just gave you a B overall. Wide receivers. Josh Downs, Zachary Franklin. I think those are two great starters right there. I'm not in love with Dontavian Wicks. I will be real. He's never been one of my favorite picks there in like the 5th, 6th round range. So I kind of did ding you a little bit for that. But you grab some of my some guys I do like kind of later on. Mitchell Tinsley at Penn State. That's a fun kind of upside play, playing the same spot that Jahan Dotson played last year. Sam Pinckney, 13th round, great pick in my opinion. I think he'll be probably the number 1 wide receiver for Coastal Carolina this year. Jalen Robinson at Ole Miss in the 17th was perfection. Great job there. So like if I kind of broke this down, probably I think you're going to probably going to be trying to figure out who's your third wide receiver there for your team kind of going in a few weeks into the season, because I think you're going to see Downs, Franklin. They'll be your top 2 guys. And then you're probably going to get a hit out of Robinson, Pinckney, and Tinsley, and Wicks. One of those guys is going to be stud for you. So I think you're sitting pretty okay there. Tight ends. C+. You only took 1 tight end. I see your strategy. You waited till the very end to grab the positions that most people wouldn't really care about. Let's go. And you grab Dalton Kincaid. That's fine. But again, in a 20-round league, I'm probably looking at grabbing 2 tight ends. So I did ding you for only grabbing 1. And you grabbed 1 that's already splitting target share with another tight end on his team, and Brant Kuithe. And I like Kincaid more than I like Kuithe. But at the same time, again, I'm not in love with your tight end situation here. And then kicker, DST. Michigan, a good DST to grab. Again, you're probably looking at some, if they really do improve this year, you're probably looking at them holding people under 20 points pretty regularly in the Big Ten. And then you grab, again, this is just my guy in the kicker realm. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. His, Andres Borregales, I had his brother, Jose Borregales, really helped me out on a team, on a game one year, scored me like 21 points. And so I just kind of feel indebted to the Borregales family. So pretty much where I can, I try to just grab Andres Borregales because, again, I like him. And so for that, you get like a slight boost in the kicker and DST department. Again, looking at this overall, probably going to give this team like an overall just a B. Again, the tight end room kind of bringing you down just a little bit there. So let's move on to the third team here. Who do we got? We got at RLM is OP on Twitter. Pretty much any name you see him at, he has OP in there somewhere. So I'm just going to call him up. Let's talk about the team he's got here. So quarterbacks, Caleb Williams. Who else we got here? He didn't take another quarterback until Talia Tagovailoa, Clayton Tune, and Spencer Rattler. I gave him a B+. It's an interesting it's a strategy that I've kind of adopted, where I take 1 stud quarterback in the early rounds and then kind of wait a little while and see who I can grab up as a value later. I think he did a pretty good job of that here. Talia Tagovailoa in the 11th round, pretty good right there. And then Clayton Tune, Spencer Rattler, a double tap right there in the later rounds, I thought was pretty good. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the fact that probably Caleb Williams is your only consistent rusher out of these guys, and I don't think he is a guy that you're really looking to get a ton of rushing out of this year. Again, maybe he has to, but I don't think they want him to rush a ton. So that could put you a little bit of a disadvantage, considering there are other quarterbacks out there that you can grab late that are rushing quarterbacks. So I think having a less diversity in your quarterback room is kind of why I bumped you down to a B+ here. But again, overall, pretty good room. I'd say a little bit above average. Running backs, you took 2 of my least favorite values in drafts right now. So again, unfortunately, there's just a ding there. Zach Evans and Tank Bigsby, they're good players. I don't like them in the 3rd and 4th round. You took the 2 Georgia running backs, Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh, as like a handcuff to each other. I don't think that, again, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't think the Georgia running back situation is something that you need to handcuff, because I think Kendall Milton will be the guy. And even if you do, they're not guys you need to handcuff in the 8th, 9th round. I think that kind of was a big ding for you here. In terms of your other running backs, fun guys here. EJ Smith, Eric Gray. Eric Gray is going to be part of a committee, but I kind of get it. And again, 15th round, not terrible value. And then John Emery Jr., I have no clue what to think of John Emery Jr. right now. It's like there was a time during the offseason where we thought maybe this is actually going to be his year, and reports out of the camp seem to kind of indicate that. Now people are saying that he's running with the 3s. I have no clue. Emery could easily be a cut for you pretty early on in the season. And then wide receivers. Wide receivers kind of give you a pretty big ding here, because looking at it, Kayshon Boutte in the 2nd round, a little bit of a reach there. I think you could have gotten a running back there and then grabbed Kayshon Boutte in the 3rd round. I think you would have been pretty happy with that. Mario Williams, I'm pretty happy with. I think it was, again, a reach in the 5th. And then Luther Burden, freshman, he's sliding into another starting spot for your wide receiver. You don't want to draft true freshmen that highly. I know it's exciting. I know it's fun. It's very sexy, but you don't want to do that. It's burned me in the past. It's burned a lot of people in the past. Just don't, in redraft, don't draft them that high. You grabbed Raheem Jarrett And I don't love Raheem Jarrett this year. I think he had a chance last year, couldn't show anything for it. Let's see, who else you got here? And then you didn't take another wide receiver until the very end in Antwain Wells Jr. I have no clue how that offense is going to be at South Carolina, so I can't ding you too much for that. But again, like when you're starting 3 wide receivers are Kayshon Boutte, good, fine. Mario Williams, okay, like I would like them better as like my 3rd option or like maybe a flex guy. And then Luther Burton, a true freshman. And I think Luther Burton's going to be awesome, but he's not somebody I want to rely on and redraft this early on in the season. I'm just not loving this wide receiver team overall. So tight ends, I gave you a B-. Why did I give you a B-? By the way, just for context, I gave these grades all yesterday, and I've only just now gotten around to actually recording this podcast today. So forgive me if it takes me a second to kind of look back and be like, all right, why did I give you the grade that I thought you deserved that? Anyway, tight ends, gave you a B-. Sam Laporta's a fine tight end. I think the bigger one that I knocked you for is Beck. I just haven't seen a ton of evidence that, like, everybody's like, oh, Jack Beck's a wide receiver, but he's listed as a tight end and everything. That's great. I don't see evidence that he's a starter for LSU this year. As far as I can tell, maybe I'm wrong if somebody can send me to that. But there's no point in grabbing a guy who is eligible at tight end, who is really a wide receiver and plays like a wide receiver, if he's not on the field. And so, like, I knocked you a little bit there. And again, if you have found something that kind of proves me wrong there, feel free to send it to me. Last but not least, kickers and DST. You grabbed the Georgia defense. That's going to be awesome this year. I think you're going to be very happy with that. And you grabbed a kicker in the USC kicker, Alex Stadhouse. I'll be real. I have done 0 research on kickers this year. They are system plays only, and knowing their names is a waste of space in my mind. So, even still, again, if that is the USC starting kicker, again, you're going to get a kicker on an offense that's going to score a ton of points this year. Why not? So, I gave you an A- there. Pretty good. Not the best combo that I've seen this year, but we'll definitely see that a little bit here in a bit. So, let's move on to our 4th team. 4th team here, we have the Visory State, and that is from @iHeartPhysEd on Twitter. And so I gave him a B+ in the quarterbacks department, A- at running back and wide receiver, tight ends a B+, and kickers and DST a B+. So just overall B+, A-. Like you're looking about as I was in high school. So you're doing pretty good here. So why am I giving you these grades? Well, CJ Stroud 1-4, top quarterback in the country in my mind. Again, pretty good value there. Brennan Armstrong in the 4th, rich for me. I don't like Brennan Armstrong or that Virginia offense really this year. So again, dinged you a little bit for that. But I do like who you grabbed later. You got Clay Millen. You got Logan Bonner. Again, the big thing is kind of the same thing I dinged. I think it was, I forget who it was, but I dinged somebody earlier for just not there being a ton of diversity in terms of like rushing versus passing quarterbacks. You got a lot of passive quarterbacks here. I think that might come back to bite you a little bit. But if I'm right and Brandon Armstrong's a bust this year, he'll be an easy cut for you and you'll pick up whatever dual threat quarterbacks coming off the waiver wire because there probably is going to be some. Running backs. Why do I like your running backs? Well, Jordan Mims and Zach Charbonnet is an incredible double tap in the 2nd, 3rd round. Love that for you. And then you really didn't touch the position. Oh, no, you did. You got Keaton Mitchell. That's a great running back right there in the 7th round. Great value there. Who else you got? Muhammad Ibrahim in the 11th round. Perfect. Great place to grab him. He is your 4th running back off the board. You don't have to rely on him week to week. And if he hits his upside, that's incredible. And then later, you grab Kendre Miller. I don't love Kendre Miller this year, but again, that's a fine 5th quarterback, or 5th, excuse me, not quarterback, running back. That's a fine 5th running back. If he hits, awesome for you. If he doesn't, that's a fine cut for you to grab probably the guy who pops up on the waiver wire. So, wide receivers. Why do I love your wide receivers? Well, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Dejon Stribling, great values in the 5th, 6th, and 8th round right there. Thought you did a great job there. Tavion Robinson in the 10th, great value. And then you grab some system plays later on, Jonathan Mingo and Melquan Stovall. Melquan Stovall being kind of a attachment to your Clay Millen pick from a couple rounds earlier, so I kind of like that. And then you grabbed Joe McMillan, just again, a system upside play there in the 18th round. I like that a lot. Your wide receiver room, I'm feeling pretty good about because I think you're going to see Rice, Flowers, those will be your studs, and then you will get a stud out of Stripling, Robinson, Mingo, Stovall, and McMillan. One of those guys is going to hit for you, and you're probably going to have 3 starters weekly for you. Sorry, had a cough there. Anyway, tight ends, B+. Why'd I give you a B+? Well, again, Ryan Jones in the 12th, a little rich for me. I've kind of backed off of Ryan Jones just a little bit. I don't love him in the 12th, but I did love your pick in Tyreek James in the 19th. He is one of my favorite values at tight end this year. So that kind of bumped you up into that B+ range. Again, a little bit above average, I thought, overall on your tight end. And then kicker and DST, you grab the Clemson defense. Great job there, especially in the 17th round. That's a great value in terms of defense. And then you grabbed BT Potter, the Clemson kicker. You want to go for kickers that are going to go on offenses that are going to score a ton of points, but also not on offenses that are going to score a ton of touchdowns, because again, then you only get the extra point. I don't think Clemson's going to be either one of those. Again, I'm still very skeptical of their offense coming into the season, and so I just think that Potter's probably not going to be kicking a lot for them this year, because I don't think maybe they get into range that much. We'll definitely see. Again, I gave you a B+, because again, that Clemson value there, great job there. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, good job, man. Let's go on to the next team here, and that is Bearded Defenses Win Championships, and I know exactly why he named that team, and we'll get to that in a second. This is at MWS Beard on Twitter. It is David Block, and for him, I give his quarterbacks a B+, running backs a B, wide receivers B+, tight ends an A, and then I gave his kickers and DSTs an A+. And so you'll see why in a second. If you're watching this or you will be watching this on YouTube, this will be YouTube exclusive. You'll see why, or you already kind of see why I gave him that, because he did a great job there. But let's start at quarterbacks here. First quarterback taken off the board, Cameron Ward out of Washington State. Maybe a tad bit high in the 4th round, but again, I think if he hits, he's awesome. Garrett Schrader, I think he's been a value in most drafts this year. Colin Schlee out of Kent State. And then you also you did not grab another quarterback. Okay, so overall, a lot of fun, high upside dudes there. Cameron Ward, Garrett Schrader, Colin Schlee, all 3 of those guys hits. That's incredible. Problem is, there's also a lot of risk with those guys. And Colin Schlee, you're not going to be able to play 3 out of the first 4 weeks, so you have to rely on Garrett Schrader and Cameron Ward. And if those guys bust for you, that's going to be a real problem for you. And that's why I'm kind of wondering why you didn't take another quarterback, like a safer quarterback in the later rounds, and instead you took a different position. But again, we'll get to that in a second. Running backs. What I like about your running backs. I gave you a B overall, mostly because I love, again, Lou Nichols, great first round pick, no problems there. Jairo Brock being your second running back, I'm a little bit skeptical of, and I like Jairo Brock this year. I like him to start this year. Again, I think Norton probably takes over as the year kind of goes on, but to start the year, why not? You got an Iowa State running back, and then you got a lot of running backs on the back end of the draft that I just don't love overall. Carson Steele, Cameron Peoples, I think they're both fine. And then you got Xavier Valade out of Arizona State. Again, these guys are all fine. Nobody that I'm super excited about. So again, kind of gave your running back team an overall just an average B. Wide receivers. Nathaniel Dell, Quentin Johnson. Great double tap in the 2-3 turn. Great stuff right there. Who else you got at wide receiver? Ali Jennings. He's a pretty good value in the 10th round. I like him quite a bit. I didn't like your Devon Vele pick out of Utah. Utah, we haven't really seen them produce a ton of wide receiver production over the years, and I hear that Vele is going to be their main guy this year, kind of like how Covey was last year, and that was good in spots, but it wasn't a good week-to-week guy, so I'm not super impressed there. Roma Duze, Jadon Hazelwood, upside guys, but no real guarantees there. And then Brandon Presley, I'm just not super in on Brandon Presley. He's had his time. He doesn't play the position that does well in Oklahoma State's offense. I think Jaden Bray is going to be the better value there. So again, wide receivers B+, because again, Dell and Johnston, those 2 are going to anchor your team pretty much throughout most of the season. And then you'll probably have question marks kind of in the later guys. Tight ends. Michael Trigg, that's my boy. You grabbed him in the 5th round. awesome job. And then you also grabbed one of my favorite later guys, that's Gavin Bartholomew there out of Pitt. The only question really with him is, do you really believe in Keaton Slovis getting him the ball? We'll see, but I give you an A for the tight end room because those are two guys that I really like. And then, of course, your kickers and DSTs have to give you an A+ here, even though some people would say that you would have reached big time in the 6th round with the Alabama DST, especially when you could have gotten Clemson in the 17th round. But when you just step back and look at your team overall, you have the Alabama defense, which is considered by some to be the best defense in the country this year. You have them. You grab Notre Dame in the 19th round. You're going to be playing one of those two defenses every week. You're feeling great about yourself there. And also your kicker is Noah Ruggles for Ohio State. And you're probably looking at the guy who is going to be kicking for the most prolific offense in the country. I have no problems with that. A+, a rare A+ on the kickers and DSTs. So well done there, sir. Overall, I like this team quite a bit. All right, moving on here, we have the Darley-Dale Donkeys, which is a epic, awesome name for a CFF team. But in reality, this is at FF_Goose on Twitter. You heard me right, Goose. And so let's talk about this team here. He is another one who has earned a very rare A+ for me, and we'll get to that in a second. Quarterbacks, I gave him a B. Running backs, B+. Wide receivers are where I'm giving him the A+ here. Tight ends, I give him an A. And the kickers and DST, I give him a C-. We'll get into that here in a second. Why? I guess we'll start with the best part about this team, and that is the wide receivers. Dude, you just knocked this out of the park. Jackson Smith and Jigba, the 6th pick. Typically, you don't see him fall that far, so great job there. Miles Price, the expected beneficiary of the Zach Kitley system there at Texas Tech. We all saw what Jarrett Stearns did last year. Just epic value there. Well done. And then Stephon Cobbs in the 5th. Malachi Corley in the 9th. Xavier Hutchinson in the 10th. Just great job all the way down. And then to cap it all off, in the 18th round, you still found a volume guy in Hassan Beydoun. I imagine he'll score more touchdowns this year. And so overall, I thought you just nailed the wide receiver position. Because again, I think you have 3 bona fide studs in Smith and Jigba, Price, and Cobbs. And if one of those guys for some reason doesn't work out, you have some really good options behind them in really good systems and proven guys that I think you will definitely love going forward. So let's go back to quarterbacks. You got Quinn Ewers. I almost gave you a lower grade for this quarterback room, but you got saved by the news today. Quinn Ewers officially the starter at Texas. I was going to come on here and say reports are saying that Hudson Card might be the starter, and then that kind of dings your number 1 quarterback. But you got saved by the bell. Quinn Ewers is going to be a stud for you. Tyler Shuck, if he hits, that you're going to have a monster duo there at quarterback. Jarrett Dagey, they're in the 13th. That's just really unfortunate. Again, unfortunately, just ends up being a wasted pick. But again, an easy drop once the season starts. Who else you got at quarterback? Shavon Cordero. God, I love him in the 17th round. Great job there. Again, getting a dual threat guy to kind of go along with your heavy passers. And then 20th round, a great value, in my opinion. A very safe quarterback in Chris Reynolds out of Charlotte. I believe he was a top 36 quarterback last year. So he's the kind of guy where you kind of plug in. You're going to get 20, 25 points. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. Not a ton of risk there. So, again, the big ding here definitely was Jarrett Dagey, I would say. And then just kind of the risk that comes along with like Tyler Shuck and such. I probably could have given you a little bit higher than a B, but we're going to stick with the B. Anyway, running backs. You didn't take a running back until the 6th round, and you grabbed two of my favorite guys, Dominic Richardson and Chase Brown. Love that double tap there at running back. And then you grab some pretty good value in Ontario Brown and Tay McWilliams. Tay McWilliams is starting to get some real buzz out of camp, so very good stuff there. Devin Neal. I don't love Devin Neal this year because it really does sound like they're going to try to split carries as much as they can there at Kansas. We'll see. You solidify the Northern Illinois running back room in Harrison Welly. What was that? 5 rounds after you took Ontario Brown. So, again, I think you got the right guy in the first pick, but again, no problem in solidifying that room. Probably Whaley becomes an easy cut if Ontario is the easy number 1 guy. So overall, gave your running backs a B+, lots of good stuff there. And if reports continue to come out about how great some of these running backs are, you will have nailed the running back position. Tight ends. Let's see, where you took your first tight end? Michael Mayer and a guy I really like, Joshua Simon. You got probably the number 1 tight end in CFF this year, and you got a guy that I really like later on that has a ton of upside. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I gave you an A. Kickers and DSC, I gave you a C-. Why did I do that? Well, you grabbed Cincinnati, a defense that is losing a ton of their key starters from last year. You grabbed them in the 19th round. And I don't really love this year. Again, you're probably going to be streaming defenses if I had to guess. And then kickers, I would say, well, you didn't take a kicker. That's kind of the problem here. I was about to go into analytics mode about why your kicker wasn't great. You didn't take a kicker. So I kind of have to ding you on that. Like, again, like it's kind of like you didn't turn in an assignment. I can't give you credit if you didn't turn in the assignment. So C- on kickers and DSTs. You're going to have to find a guy on your roster, probably Jared Dagey, pretty easy cut right there, and grab yourself a kicker before week 1. All right, next up, we have Mr. Jace Sweet. He is at Jace O Sweet on Twitter. Let's talk about his team here. I gave him a B+ for quarterbacks, a B for running backs, B- for wide receivers, B+ for tight ends, and kickers and DSCs, I gave him an I for incomplete because just like the last team, he didn't take a kicker. He also didn't take any DSCs. So, Jace, if you're listening, buddy, you need to have a defense and a kicker for your team come week 1. Alrighty? Cool. Now let's talk about who you did draft. So quarterbacks. Malik Cunningham, first round. I typically see him go in the second round, but again, when you're at that 7-6 turn, you really want him. He's probably not making it back to you at 2-6, so I understand the need to just go ahead and grab him there. And then you got good value in the second round. Sean Tucker falling to 2-6. Feel pretty good about that. Anyway, I'm supposed to be focusing on quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, to me, was a reach in the 4th round, mostly because, again, it's a lot, and I mean a lot, of projection with him right now. But he didn't really get a coach that I think can really unlock his potential. He got Billy Napier, who, if you've seen Levi Lewis the past couple of years, really hasn't been that productive. Now, granted, you can also say that Billy Napier has only had Will Levis to work with. No, not Will Levis. Levi Lewis over at Louisiana, who is not a great quarterback. So, is it a question of how much did Lewis limit Napier, or how much did Napier limit Lewis? We don't know yet. We're gonna find out probably this year. But again, I think 4th round was a little too rich for me there. And then Tyler Van Dyke in the 13th round. I like it. It's fine. It's much better value than where he was going early on in the season. And then you grab Peyton Thorne in the 20th round. Good 20 points per game guy right there. And so, but again, overall, I give it a B+ because again, if Anthony Richardson hits, Malik Cunningham hits, that's 2 incredible dual threat quarterbacks that if they're truly unlocked to their potential, you're going to be loving them every single week. Now, running backs. Let's talk about this here. Sean Tucker at Syracuse, I think is a pretty good pick right there. And then Donovan Edwards, I like quite a bit. And then you went on like a run of running backs that I just have a ton of questions about. Jalen Knighton, do we know he's the number 1 running back in Miami? We have really no clue. Jabari Small at Tennessee, how much do they really use the running back position? He had a lot of good games last year, but I don't think he's really a guy you're going to want to rely on in your starting lineup. Raheem Sanders, I think Arkansas is really going to try to go committee. I don't think he's going to have that much upside like people really want him to. And now there's rumors that he's splitting out to the slot. So if he does become a wide receiver, there's going to be a lot of question marks of how does that impact his value. Brad Roberts is one of the bigger question marks there because we all have no clue whether to believe if he truly was injured in the way that one article earlier in the season kind of mentioned. There's been no word on him since. So if he hits here in the 12th round, you got a great value here. And then a couple of okay guys I think are fine in the later rounds. Frank Gore, Jared Mangum. Overall, I think your running back room is pretty average. I think you did a decent job finding some safer guys in case some of your higher upside guys didn't really pay off there in kind of that round, I'd say 8 to 12 range. So wide receivers, gave you a B- here, mostly because I don't really love anybody you grabbed here. out of your wide receiver room. I'm just going to be plain honest. Jada Reed, you got him at the value he's typically been going at, maybe a round higher, but even still, he might be the safest one I think you have here. Parker Washington, Dante Demas, who else you got here? Keaton Thompson at UVA. You got Gary Bryant Jr. and Joshua Cephas. You got a lot of guys here that I'm not feeling super comfortable about any of them. I don't see any of them, except for Reed maybe, being kind of weekly starters. I could see you in the future having a tough time week to week trying to figure out who's got the better matchup between all these guys. And some of them, again, a lot of guys here who have upside. Don't get me wrong. Like, none of these guys aren't bums. But compared to some of the, I would say, safer values that some other teams got and everything, there's a lot more question marks with your wide receiver room. You also got a lot of guys here, it looks like, that could easily be the number 2 option for their teams. And to me, that's not where you want to go when you're playing CFF. Because like Dante Demas, there's a world where he is the second receiver behind like Jacob Copeland or Raheem Jarrett. Again, I don't love Raheem Jarrett, but again, there's a world where Demas is the second wide receiver. Parker Washington could easily be the second wide receiver behind Mitchell Tinsley. Keaton Thompson. If Dontavian Wicks hits and Keaton Thompson is the second wide receiver, once again, you got a number 2 guy rather than number 1 guy. Gary Bryant Jr. I like Gary Bryant Jr., but again, there's a world where he's the number 3 wide receiver for USC. You don't want that on your team. Joshua Cephas, he's going to be the guy there behind Zachary Franklin. Again, that's not a team that I'm really investing in terms of having 2 prolific wide receivers. So again, overall, if some of these guys hit, you got a good wide receiver room. But in terms of the overall feel of it right now, I give you a B-. Tight ends. Who we got here? You got Eric Gilbert, 14th round. That's great value there in my opinion. And then you got Eric All out of Michigan. I'm not a huge fan of Eric All this year. I think he's more name recognition than he is like actually good productive tight end. Because I think I looked last year, he was outside the top like 60 tight ends. Like, he did not produce a ton last year. So I think it's more people just kind of heard his name a little bit more as they went on to the Big Ten championship, as they went on to the playoff game, and they're like, oh, well, they must use him a lot. It's like, well, last year, not really. So again, Eric Gilbert, 14th round as your first tight end, I think pretty good. And then I already mentioned kickers and DSTs. You don't have them, you need to get them. So moving on to the next team here. We have Kenny Linson. He is at KLDog7211 on Twitter. And if you can't tell by the grades I've given out here, I really like Kenny's team. And part of that is I think he has listened to a lot of my content. He knows the guys that I like. And I think maybe he might have done that a little bit on purpose here. But also, again, I think overall he just has a fantastic team. So let's get into this. Quarterbacks. This is the third and final A+ that I am giving out today, and that has to be for Kenny's quarterback room because I adore this quarterback room. So, Hendon Hooker in the first round. I didn't love that until I saw who he got in the second round, and so pretty much if you flip those 2 picks right there, I think he did great. Dylan Gabriel in the fourth. And then he waited all the way until the 15th round and grabbed one of my favorite guys right now in Adrian Martinez. Great dual threat. He's going to a system that loves to let their quarterbacks run. I think he's going to actually do pretty great at Kansas State this year. I think he needed some fresh air, get away from Scott Frost, get away from Nebraska, get a fresh start. I like him a lot there in the 15th. And then, of course, maybe it was luck, maybe it was skill, but he grabbed Austin Reed, the new starting quarterback for Western Kentucky, who is benefiting from the Zach Kittley offense, trying to be reinstated there. Just, again, a quarterback room of Hooker, Gabriel, Martinez, and Reed. That's an insane quarterback room. I'm giving you an A+ there. Well done, Kenny. Running backs. Gave you an A, because your starting 2 running backs are Braylon Allen, who is an insane value in the second round, and then Dwayne McBride in the third. Pretty much any time in the third round, Dwayne McBride's still on the board, more than likely I'm taking him off the board. So I thought that was great stuff right there. You grab Corey Kiner and Isaiah Bowser. A little bit more risk there, but again, if those guys hit, they're going to be awesome for you. British Brooks, man, that's a tough one right there. That's a tough loss right there. You gained Austin Reed, but you lost British Brooks, so that was a bit of a tough one. And then you grabbed as your last running back Gavin Williams. As I'm kind of running through this, I could probably bump this down to a B+, but again, or not a B+. I'd say probably if I did this again, I'd say not an A for running backs, but definitely an A-, because again, Corey Kiner, there's question marks of whether he'll be the main guy kind of starting out the gate. Isaiah Bowser, in the 9th round, I like a little bit better. He is not, again, there's some injury history there, but if there's a upside of 30 carries per game with him, so we'll definitely see. Again, I like your running back room quite a bit. Wide receivers. Chris Thornton, Jaden Bray, great picks in the 5th and 6th round. Torrey Helton out of Colorado State, love that. Trey Palmer, love him. Zion Bone. Again, you literally just kind of went down a list of guys that I've been loving to draft this year, so it's hard for me not to give you a super high grade on this. The only thing I could really knock you for here is that you don't have one of those studs that you can get in the first 4 rounds, which is, again, those first 4 rounds, there's some really big studs right there. Again, Chris Thornton's almost in that tier, but there's still some question marks here. So I gave you an A- for wide receivers. Tight ends are my lowest grade for you, and that's because, again, Marshawn Ford, really good pick there in the 11th round. And then you grabbed Isaac Rex, 14th round. Again, 2 good tight ends. I don't think any of them are going to be week-to-week starters for you. We'll definitely see, but I gave you a B+ there. And then kickers and DSCs, you grab Will Reichard out of Alabama. We're going to be one of the highest scoring offenses in the country this year. And then I would say at the very end, you grab Baylor, which is a very sneaky DST this upcoming year. I actually really like what they kind of brought back there. Again, if I did this again, maybe I'd bump you down to B+ in the kickers and DST department. Mostly because, again, there's still question marks of whether Baylor can be productive there. But again, Will Reichard definitely helping you out here. So I'd still say this is probably, in my opinion, the best set up team right now. If I had to put money on one of you guys winning the league this year, I probably would go Kenny. But like I said at the very beginning of the video, there's plenty of opportunity for all of you guys to make plays, to grab guys off the waiver wire, and honestly, for me to be wrong as well. Like, there's some guys I'm probably going to be knocking here. I'm like, oh, I don't really like that are probably going to blow up and be excellent for you guys. So again, like I said, don't take my word as gospel here. I'm just giving you my thoughts, my feedback, and we'll find out who's wrong and who's right. Again, wouldn't you love the idea to just hang it over to my head and be like, you know what, Jared? You said that you really didn't like my, again, I'm just going to take a guy off here. It's like, you didn't like my Gavin Williams pick. Well, guess what? Gavin Williams was the top 3 running back in CFF last year, and I'm going to sit there and eat it because I'm going to be like, you know what? He was. So we'll find out. All right, got 4 more teams to get through here. Let's go ahead to Team Samurai Ninja, and that is also known as Mike Doran, who is at mdoran4 on Twitter. Let's talk about what I like about his team here. And clearly, if you can look at the grades, I like his team in several different areas here. But we'll start with the quarterbacks. I gave him a B. So why did I give him a B? Well, waited a little too long or not that he waited too long, is that I think the picks he made in round 7 and 8 didn't really warrant taking a quarterback that early. Frank Harris, Devin Leary, they're both good quarterbacks. I think they'll be fine. Devin Leary, again, if he hits what he did last year, you're going to love him having him here. And then he only took in one other quarterback, it looks like, and that's Phil Jerkovich. 3 good quarterbacks. I think you'll enjoy. You're going to probably start each of those guys week to week. Or like you'll start 2 out of 3 of those guys each week, but I don't think you're going to be really seeing anybody hit above 30 points out of those guys. Maybe Frank Harris on a good week. So I give you a B overall on the quarterbacks. Now, running backs. Love your running backs. Gave you an A- there. Jahmyr Gibbs, Will Shipley, 2 stud running backs to start things off with right there. Marquez Cooper. Man, loved Marquez Cooper there in the 9th round. And then Chris Tyree and Israel Abanikanda. Again, I don't love the Israel Abanikanda pick there in the 19th round, but it's the 19th round. You take your guys at that point. But more than anything, I just really love that Jahmyr Gibbs, Will Shipley, 2 teams that should relatively dominate most of their competition this year. They're going to be in a better game script for running backs. hand the ball off to guys. And so I really like grabbing those guys pretty early. There's going to be plenty of touchdown scoring opportunities for those guys. So I think those two probably don't leave your lineup outside of bye weeks. Let's go wide receivers here. Give you another A- because I love your starting trio of Tillman, Marvin Mims, and Mac Hippenhammer. Those three are fantastic. Trayvon Rudolph had to give you a knock here. Probably would have been an A group if Trayvon Rudolph really was there. But again, unfortunately now a wasted roster spot. Ryan O'Keefe out of UCF. I think that was pretty good. Ja'Cory Brooks in the 14th. There's some value there now because, quite frankly, there's Alabama receivers keep getting injured. And so Brooks is going to benefit from that. And then Roderick Burns, one of my favorite upside plays at North Texas, but also unfortunately Austin Aune is the starting quarterback, and well, we've seen that show before. And if he's the starter throughout the season, Burns is not nearly going to be as valuable as we think he'll be this year. So tight ends, you grab Zach Kuntz in the 5th round. Great job there. You paired him up with Payne Durham, another great tight end selection in my opinion. And it probably would have been an A+ with those two. But you also took Joel Wilson. I do like Joel Wilson a lot this year. But I mentioned earlier, 2 tight ends is probably what I would go for in a 20-round league. And again, taking a 3rd tight end was more of a luxury than anything else. I just don't see, when you have Payne Durham and when you have Zach Kuntz, when do you play Joel Wilson? Unless both Zach Kuntz and Payne Durham are off on the same bye week. I haven't checked. But even if that's the case, that's a week that you just find a tight end off the waiver wire and stream them. I don't think having Joel Wilson take up a roster spot for you that long is really going to be worth it. But again, the whole group in A probably would have been an A+ had you just stuck to the 2 guys. Now, kickers and DSTs. Let's see who you got here. Again, Jake Booty, Michigan, fine. And Iowa defense, they created a lot of turnovers last year. They made a lot of plays. Weren't great in the scoring departments and the yardage departments. So I gave you a B overall. Like I don't love either one of those, but fair enough. So, all right. Again, good job overall, Mike. So let's move on here. We got Drew. He is at D Battery Sports on Twitter. His team is D Battery FF here. And so let's go through his teams here. So quarterbacks, gave him a B. So why did I give him a B? Well, I really like his Will Rogers pick in the 4th round. Don't love his Jake Haener pick in the 6th round. Again, a lot of people think he's underrated. And then he only took a 3rd quarterback in Jaron Hall. Again, out of those guys, really Rogers is your only pick there, or your only kind of guarantee there. And again, when you have 2 other guys have some question marks there, I would have grabbed a 4th quarterback sometime in all this. And so, again, the 3 quarterbacks kind of really hurt you here. Will Rogers is going to help you out here. I'd say probably overall, maybe it was a little harsh with the B. Maybe could bump it up to a B+ because Will Rogers is going to help you out a lot there. Great value in the 4th round, but I'm going to stick with my B. Anyway, running backs, I gave you an A- because you have the combination of Deuce Vaughn and Tavion Thomas. Love that starting duo for you right there. And then you grab some just higher upside guys later. Some question marks there, definitely. But again, if they hit, they're going to be great for you. Braden Bennett, Chris Rodriguez, Damian Martinez, and all kind of upside plays. But I do love the fact that you double the Oregon State running back room with Deshaun Fenwick and Damian Martinez. You'll find out very quickly on whether or not Damian Martinez is really a threat to take over Fenwick as the season goes on. I do love Damian Martinez, and I do love that you kind of locked down that room. So I'm going to give you an A- there at running backs. Again, God, that starting duo of Deuce Vaughn and Tavion Thomas, love that for you. Anyway, wide receivers, gave you a B+. Well, why did I do that? Well, Jordan Addison's one of my least favorite values in the 2nd round right now because, again, people are drafting him as if he will be a clear number 1 at USC this year. Lincoln Riley doesn't have clear number 1s outside of CeeDee Lamb. I believe it's the year that Kyler Murray was there. Outside of that, very much likes to spread the ball around, even when he has 2 good options. And there's a possibility that Jordan Addison still has a 1,000-yard season, even if maybe Mario Williams also is kind of killing it out there. They've had 2 1,000-yard wide receivers before. I believe it was Baker's second year. They had 2,000-yard wide receivers. I can't remember off the top of my head. Again, I'm bad about bringing up stats like that off the fly. But I think that was fine. Tyrese Chambers in the 5th was a little rich for me. But again, I like just some of the guys you picked up here. Puka Nacua in the 7th. Pretty good pick. Let's see, who else you got? Jaden Walley, pair him up with Mississippi State. I think that's fine. And then Donovan Green, Wake Forest, upside play. Again, I'm a little hesitant about him now that Hartman's down. I still like A.T. Perry in that offense, but when you have a quarterback who has not a ton of experience, don't love that for the second and third options on that team, because again, they're going to tunnel vision into the number one guy. So we'll see what happens to Donovan Green. And then, yeah, those are your wide receivers. Tight ends, gave you a B. You locked down the Miami room, which is fine. But again, you took 3 tight ends in order to do so, because you also took Brent Kuithe in the 12th round. And again, I mentioned earlier, Kuithe is my least favorite out of those 2 tight ends. So I'm going to say I don't really like that pick in the 12th. So I'm going to give you a B overall at tight end. I think you're going to be fine, but I don't think you're going to be anything spectacular. Kickers and DSTs, well, sir, you didn't take a kicker, so shame on you. Kickers are people too. And then in the last round, you took Houston DST. I heavily see you streaming defenses here in the near future, which is a legit strat, but in terms of just this draft, I have to give you the C- there on kickers and DSTs. All right, 2 more. My goal was to keep this under an hour, and that's not going to happen. We got 2 more teams here. So next up is Mr. Sal Kusumano. I am, again, Sal, if I pronounce your name, either the first or last name, because it could easily be Saul. If I pronounce either one wrong, please let me know. Anyway, let's talk about your team here, Sal, because quarterbacks gave you an A-, because I loved your double tap of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Aiden O'Connell in the 5th and 6th round. Maybe a little rich for Dorian, but again, just go ahead and knocking those 2 out. Love that right there. Daquan Finn, Jordan Travis. Feel really good overall about this quarterback room. Don't love Jordan Travis, but you picked him in the 19th round. I would say definitely you feel good about that. And so I gave you an A- overall. Again, it wasn't anything spectacular like I thought that. Who did I give the A+ to at quarterback? Was it where's he at? Oh, it wasn't anything like Kenny's room. Like, I adore Kenny's room, but A- overall. Did a great job there. Running backs also gave you an A- here. Devin Achane, pretty good pick there in the 3rd round. And then you grab, again, Sal, you listen to my content, and so maybe this is a little bit of a cheat and everything, but like, you picked a lot of guys that I like. You got Christopher Brooks out of BYU, Chris Smith, UL Lafayette. I've been saying he's actually become a value a little bit, because again, he's been taken like the 4th, 5th round earlier in this offseason. Now he's kind of dropped into the 8th, 9th, 10th round. Good value there. Dedrick Parson out of Hawaii. Love him in the 9th round. Tyjae Spears, great value in the 10th round. And then you picked up Ellis Merriweather in the UMass running back in the 14th round. So overall, I think you're solid. Your running back room is just super, super solid. Now, my favorite group is your wide receiver core. That has a lot to do with the fact that you double tapped A.T. Perry and Xavier Worthy really early on. Again, A.T. Perry, a lot of people are kind of worried about him with Hartman out. Mitch Griffiths coming in as the quarterback. I'm not super worried about it. Again, maybe I would have waited a little bit longer than this, but that's not really your fault. Again, the news wasn't out by that point. And so I really like your starting duo of wide receivers with A.T. Perry and Xavier Worthy. Great job there. And then you waited a little bit to grab wide receivers again, and you took some insane values. Tyrone Tracy, Dawood Davis in the 11th and 12th round. Love that right there. Jeff Foreman, Brian Cobbs in the 17th round is an incredible upside pick. Love that right there. Jalen Wayne out of South Alabama. Love him there in the 18th round. I think overall your wide receiver group is probably the best of your team, and you got a pretty good team here, so that's saying quite a bit. Who else we got here? Tight ends. Brock Bowers, and who else? You did not take a second tight end. I get it. Brock Bowers, he's a stud. I really am starting to have question marks about how much volume he'll get this year, because again, there's a lot of mouths to feed on Georgia's offense this year, and I do expect them to pass more this year than they have seen in the past couple of years. So Brock Bowers by himself puts his tight end room as a B+, but not having a backup option at tight end, I think, could kind of come back to haunt you a little bit if indeed Bowers struggles to get targets. Not only because, again, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but also defensive coordinators are going to be focused in on Bowers this year. Like, he kind of took a lot of people by surprise last year. This year, they know who he is. So we'll definitely see. And then your kickers and DSCs, I gave you a B+. Texas A&M, good value in the 15th. I would normally give you credit for taking Jackpot Lesney out of UGA in the 20th round. Problem is, I've been hearing a lot of reports out of camp that he's kind of struggling with accuracy issues. So we'll definitely see about what happens there. Again, he was your 20th round pick. Can't knock you too much, so I gave you a B+. All right, final team to go through here, and that is Mr. Joseph Pellegrino. He is at Joseph Pellegrino 5 on Twitter. Also, I forgot to mention, Sal is at Kusumano_Sal on Twitter. So if you want to go hang out with Sal, Sal is an incredibly nice human being. Anyway, Joseph Pellegrino. Let's look at your team here, buddy. So overall, I gave your quarterbacks a B-, running backs a B, wide receivers a B+, tight ends an A, and kickers and DST an A. So let's start with the bad news here with the quarterbacks. Why do I not like your quarterbacks? Well, Bryce Young. You're probably thinking to me like, Jared, Bryce Young. He's a great pick in the first round. I'm like, yeah, I like Bryce Young a lot. I don't love who you have behind him. I think there's a lot of question marks here. You got Jackson Dart, who there's still some kind of questions up in the air regarding whether he is going to start or not. Now, there's been some good news coming out lately that he has taken over Altmaier as the starter, but at the same time, like, we don't have a guarantee of that whatsoever. And then your other guy that you have behind him is Jarrett Doege, who you took after the transfer portal news. And so now you have the potential starter at, I believe it was Troy he transferred to, as your third option as on your team. Overall, man, I think you're going to, again, Bryce Young, he's going to be great for you. But if the worst case scenario happens here and Jackson Dart isn't even a starter, you're going to have to go to the waiver wire to grab quarterbacks here, because I don't think Jarrett Doege is going to be any kind of value for you, even if he's transferred to Troy. Jackson Dart, if he's sitting there on your bench because he's a backup and everything, you got nobody else but Bryce, and you got to start two quarterbacks. So again, keep an eye on quarterbacks very early on. Running backs, I gave you a B. Love Rasheen Ali, like Titus Swen quite a bit. A lot of people behind him I just kind of have meh or kind of decent feelings on and everything. I like it. Nathaniel Pete, man, we have no clue what's going on at Mizzou right now. Blake Watson out of Old Dominion, fine pick in the 11th round. Jaquavius Marks in the 12th. Like, it's not, this league is half-point PPR, so I don't love Marks in this format. Pat Garwell could be a good, like, lifesaver for you in terms of, like, if some of your other running back guys bust, he's probably going to be a guy that gets 200 touches this year. I don't think he's going to have insane upside, but, you know, if you need 15, 18 points a week, Garwell's probably your guy. Tony Mathis out of West Virginia, I just don't see a running back being valued there, because he is going to be a guy that they're going to be throwing the ball a ton there. So unless Mathis has a receiving ability that I haven't previously known about, I don't love him here in the 16th. So that's my wide receivers for you. Again, B+, or that's my running backs for you. Give you a B. Wide receivers give you a B+. Cropper, Cephas, Cowing, like them quite a bit there. Who else we got here? Lorenzo Styles, I like. Evan Stewart, I'm not super sold on as a Texas A&M wide receiver, at least for redraft this year. Again, you took him here in the 15th. So, again, kind of getting that range of my guys and everything. I could see him maybe doing well for you, but I could also see a world where you drop him after a week or two, because, again, Texas A&M's offense isn't as pass heavy as we really want it to be for some of those freshmen. And then you also grab Julian Fleming in the 17th, one of my favorite late round dart throws. He will be a starter for Ohio State, at least to start the year. And if he is a starter wide receiver for Ohio State, he is going to produce. And so we will definitely see what happens with Fleming. I like the upside there. So overall, give your wide receivers a B+. Tight ends. Gave you an A. Love the just double tap of Ben Yurosek and Jaheim Bell, and you're just done with the position. Love that. Great job. Moving on. Kickers in DST, you waited pretty much until the end of the draft. Ohio State's defense in the 18th round is an insane value for me right now because Jim Knowles, I think, is really going to rehabilitate that defense to where they're going to be much better than they were last year. So I like that quite a bit. And then you grabbed one of my favorite kickers this year. Again, Jonah Dalmas. Dude has had some pretty insane accuracy last year for some long-range kicks. So I like him quite a bit, and they kick a ton of field goals at Boise. It's one of those perfect offenses where they don't score a touchdown every time they get to the end zone or every time they get into the red zone, but they get to the red zone a ton. And so Dalmas definitely has a ton of just volume as a kicker there, so I like him quite a bit. Alrighty. Been talking for about an hour. That is it, y'all. Again, I really appreciate all the people who are participating in this league. You guys all did great. Nobody's team I'm looking at here and saying like, oh, there is no way you can win this. You're going to have your chance. As long as you do your due diligence as the season kind of progresses, you look at the guys on the waiver wire, you listen to guys like myself, you listen to you read articles that come out of different places and everything, talking about who you should pick up, start discussions and everything. As long as you do that kind of due diligence, you're going to be just fine in this type of league. Again, you guys have all been awesome. For those of you who have been listening who aren't in this league and are just looking for some draft analysis, I really hope you enjoyed what we did here today. And again, I look forward to these leagues every year. Again, it is super fun watching people who have never played this format before play for the first time. And the discussions I have with some of y'all are fantastic. So really appreciate all of you guys tuning in here today. Again, appreciate you guys tuning into the special edition of Chasing Natty. We'll be back pretty much to regular schedule this upcoming week. And this upcoming show, I'll give you a better idea of what it is we'll be doing for in-season content. It'll be very similar to last year with a few minor tweaks. We will get to that when that happens. So again, really appreciate you guys listening, and I will see you guys next time. Appreciate it. Have a blessed day.